Stephanie, welcome. It's such an immense pleasure to speak with you today.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Stephanie, you have transitioned from managing massive public sector programs to co founding an AI venture with a purpose. What was a moment that made you realize innovation and empathy had to go hand in hand?
I was out to dinner one night with a friend of mine, and we were having a conversation, and I misheard what she said, but that sparked the light bulb. And I was like, I can do this. I think that this is how I'm going to spend the rest of my life. I should be able to retire from this. And I started a journey. Did not realize it was going to be this complex and difficult, but it's working out okay.
Tell us more about the key lessons that you have learned since you started AvatarBuddy, and what advice would you share with entrepreneurs that may be thinking of also starting an AI venture?
I would say to people that however difficult you think it's going to be, it's about 2,000 times more difficult. You should give yourself grace. Things are not going to go the way you want it to go. And that's a good thing because you will be able to learn from it. You need to be in a state of learning. And then you also understand that you have to be so resourceful and so creative. All of those buttons get pushed at levels and at pace that you've never used to. And I think that instead of spending a year listening to people's advice, I would spend 6 months. And then if somebody give me advice that I didn't agree with, I would just say to them, "Thank you for your input," and carry on, and not feel obligated to try and test it out. I spent I think a year and a half doing that, and quite a number of those advice that I got, if I had taken them, I would not be with AvatarBuddy today. I would have had to close down.
When you say that starting the venture was 2,000 times more difficult, how do you manage your mental health in the process?
I try to go do bike rides. I was not bike riding, and that definitely negatively impacted my mental health. I try to eat healthy. I just realized that not that I wouldn't say I was eating unhealthily, but I definitely wasn't eating as clean as I could eat. And I've just kind of gone back to eating just protein, simple carbohydrates like fruits and vegetables, eliminating starch, moving away from processed food. I mean, you can't have 100% free processed food diet just because of the way the world is today, but you can get pretty close to it. And once I started that back on that regiment, a lot of my mental health challenges went away. I was actually really surprised. And because my brain was now back to working well, I started winning more, which then helped me go to the next level and be better able to deal with the challenges of being an entrepreneur. It's like, do you celebrate when somebody says something positive? Because usually, right in the middle of celebrating that, something negative just smacks you back. So I tell myself now, I'm celebrating every win. I got up this morning. I made my bed. I brushed my teeth. I put on some clothes. I'm not in my pajamas. I ate breakfast and I ate lunch because it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I've had 2 meals. I'm winning. I sat with a new hire and got her excited about being part of the organization. Explained to her that we are a different organization and that the things that other people do and say, that's not what we're about. We're about being kind and loving to each other. Loving kindness is one of the things that we want. We want people to have fun when they're doing their work, because when people are having fun and they're doing their work, they become happy, and if happy people bring the best that there is to bring. And so she like broke down and said she's never been in an organization where people care about their employees, so this is very uncomfortable for her. And as she was saying that, two things happened. One was, it's just so unfortunate that people think that it's okay not to treat others kindly. And then it also reminded me of why AvatarBuddy is in business to begin with. So while we're a managed AI as a service company, we really want to use AI to help people feel good about themselves, help them win at work so that they can win at home. Because we know when people win at home and win at work, they turn into great community members. And if we have great community members, then the community is just a little bit better. And I was like, this is great. Explain to her what we're trying to do, and that, everything is not just day one is not going to be glorious at Avatar Buddy, but we will grow and fight and learn together. We will make great strides, and all she has to do is not lose faith in Avatar Buddy. And she looked at me strange when I said not to lose faith in Avatar Buddy, because I wanted her to understand that just as much as she might be thinking she's failing us, we might be failing her as well. And that is a two-way street whenever there's a failure.
It's so powerful what you just have shared. And it's a very unique and rare leadership quality where we're able to actually bring that positivity, that caring, that vulnerability into conversations to lift people up. And in fact, multiple studies from all over the world show the power of this human centric leadership, this positive, joyful leadership that can actually allow people to do incredible things that they never even conceived or ever imagined. It's absolutely interesting what happens at the level of the brain whenever we're in a situation where we feel cared for, listened to, and there's also the sense of excitement that, yes, we're working together towards building something phenomenal, which is really, really powerful. So I absolutely applaud you for doing that.
I look forward to having her be one of her top producers. I know she has the capacity to.
That's awesome. And I want to go back to the starting point of Avatar Buddy because you co-founded the company. The 2000 X factor be multiplied even further if you would have taken on this journey on your own instead of actually pursuing this with a founding partner?
That's a hard question to answer. This is my first independent venture, so I'm not so sure what the answer would be. I will say that it is refreshing to have somebody to bounce ideas off of, and just to help fill in gaps in your knowledge and your reasoning.
If I ask the younger Stephanie what her biggest aspiration was, what would she say, and how close are you to that vision today?
Actually, I'm after lots of detours, I'm actually right on point with my vision. So when I was about 9, 10, I would sit around with my dad, and he used to bring home the Economist every week. He was a government official, and obviously I want to be like him. So I'm trying to read the Economist, but at 9 or 10, you're not really understanding what they're saying, I think. And so I got to read in the obituaries because that I could understand, and that was one data point that set my trajectory, because they always talked about people, how they did great things in business, but they also great things in the community and society. And I thought I would love to be able to have a life that's worthy of an obituary in Economist. I know I'm not going to have one, but just aspirational goals. And then the second thing, which is a little bit more to what I'm doing on a day-to-day basis, is my dad and I would talk about how do we solve poverty and solve it from a dignity standpoint, right? So not make people wrong for being poor, not thinking that people are somewhat have some deficit because they're poor, viewing it from people are poor or without because of some societal systemic failures, because they weren't lucky enough to have the right last name. They weren't lucky enough to have the right circle of friends. And so, how do we solve that? And we used to talk about that constantly. And now with AI, I feel like I have a fighting chance to actually help people. So, I think about the farmers that we're about to work with in Ghana. And what we're doing is we're saying, look, we understand that there are certain farming techniques you're unaware of. So we'll put it in the AI, and then we'll configure the AI to speak your local dialect, and you'll be able to get help whenever you need to manage your crop. so that you can increase yield. And we want you to increase yield. If you increase yield, then your earning increases. And then we're going to deploy a teacher buddy that will bring education to the rural parts of where you might have your farm. And now your children and maybe even you can learn when it's convenient for you. So you no longer have to choose between farming and learning. You can do both. And I look down the road 10 years from now and I think, what will that community look like? And I only see positive things. And so that's one example of all the really great things we're doing with AI. And in addition to selling to for-profit companies to help amplify and improve their profitability, we're also looking at it from a social sector standpoint as well. So we have quite a number of nonprofits as our clients, but we also have for-profits as our clients as well. And so from the for-profit standpoint, the organizations that are partnering with us are winning and helping to make the society a better place because they're investing in their employees in a way that uplifts their employees. And then for the social sector, we're bringing tools to make their jobs just a little bit easier, help them increase throughput. Earlier this week, I was talking to an organization about creating a resource where somebody that needs help would go to their website and they would be talking to a social worker buddy, and the social worker buddy would help them create a care plan. And then one or two things can happen. They can execute the care plan themselves if they have that level of agency, or if they don't, they can then take that care plan to the organization. And so now they're already farther along the road in getting the help they need. And that sometimes a few days makes a difference between your life going on the right track and your life going off track.
I love the story you have just shared, and this connects back to something that you did prior to this new venture while you were at Habitat for Humanity. My understanding is that during that time you led over 2,000 women volunteers to build homes and served as honorary consul. And this is a true testament of civic leadership. And I'd really love to learn a little bit more about that, if you can please share with our audience.
Okay, sure. So when it was time to come to university, I came to the US to go to university with the intention of going back to Belize to do my part in developing Belize. Unfortunately, there was an election and the party my dad was aligned with lost, so my life was also upended. So I moved to Miami to get a master's at the University of Miami. I was living in Miami. It takes 2 years to get a master's and 5 years to elections. And by the time elections came around and they won again, I was enjoying living in Miami. And so my give back to the country was being honorary consul for 8 years. Honorary consul is a volunteer diplomat position. You have to incur the expenses of the office and associated events and so forth. And I felt that was a great give back. While as honorary consul, we started the Caribbean Council Corps. We agitated, or I would say demanded, depending on who's interpreting the meeting, that the TSA would be more respectful to the leaders of head of states as they're passing through Miami. And we established Belize as a viable country that has lots of potential. And Habitat for Humanity, I've been fascinated since I was a little kid. I learned about that and I thought it's really cool. You can get to go build houses. So when I first moved to Miami, I couldn't afford to write a check. So I would go once a month to go build at the Habitat build site. There's Jordan Commons and Habitat Villa. I like to say that I contributed to helping them get those completed. Then I sat on their homeowner selection committee where you would go and interview potential homeowners and then advocate on their behalf. And I'm very proud to say that I advocated to help get 2 people homes. And, it's just 2 people, but I think 2 more people have a place to call home and a safe place to raise their children. And then while I was at the housewarming for the last person that I advocated to get a home, I was talking to the staff about women build, and they said, yeah, we should do a women build. So I volunteered myself and a really dear friend of mine, Didi Eisenberg, to run the Women Build Homes. And so we started in 2009. And for 3.5 years, we convinced 2,100 women to brave the Miami heat. We built 7 homes all on time. One home we built in 2 weeks. That was crazy intense. And actually, just recently, I ran into the homeowner of that home, and she says that she's doing well. She still has her home. Her kids are doing amazing. The homeowner that started this build, the restarted a Habitat Women's build, she finished paying off her mortgage. I mean, just incredible things happening. So 7 families have homes, and I like to sometimes drive through Liberty City and just kind of like see what the improvements they've done on their homes. I don't stay in touch with the homeowners except for the first one. And just kind of sit there and think, yeah, this is great. This is how I wanted my life to be able to say, look how I can help people, but like really help them. And then I was on the board of Habitat for Humanity, and I rolled off because it was conflicting with my job at the Children's Trust.
What an incredible impact you have had, as you said, at such a young age as well, which is admirable, I have to say.
It was pretty funny to be the honorary council at 26, 26, 27. That's a job usually designed for people that are in their 60s and 70s, and so people kept confusing me with they would expect that I was an honorary council's child, and I was like, no, I am the actual honorary council.
I love it. And this brings me to another question that connects to the youth in today's generation. As I was reading through some of the recent research that is projecting for AI to have a massive impact, particularly on early entry office workers. We're already seeing massive disruption in the working world, whereby the opportunities that some of the Gen Z and even millennials had, like, it seemed to be now dissipating. And everyone is saying, there's a shift. Of course, there's more opportunities that are emerging in the AI world, but other repetitive tasks are now being replaced. And there's this sense of, I would say, gloom and the doom that sadly we see across some of the younger generations. What advice would you give someone that is a Gen Z or a millennial today listening to our conversation and wondering where they can actually make a positive impact like you did at that young age?
I believe that the narrative and the data points of what's important will change. So when I graduated from college, I had no work experience. I went from undergrad directly into graduate school. And so I could have been looking for jobs and saying, I have no work experience. But what I said was, I had summer internships, and I said, 2 years of graduate school is equivalent to 3 years of experience. I don't know if that was true or not, but that was my story, and that's what I was thinking. And I think just the fact that I had the gall to walk into an interview at like 24, 25, and tell somebody in their 50s or 60s that, by the way, like, yes, I do have work experience. This is what I'm qualifying this for. So this is why you need to hire me. I think what young people need to say is, I might not have all the wisdom right now, but I am bringing with me my ability to have AI help me, not in a way that in about 6 to 9 months, I should be operating at a mid level person. So and then I would just be bold enough to say, I am cheaper than a mid level person. I mean, we obviously don't want to be competing on price, but if that's what it is, that's what it is. And then if I was a mid level person, I would be ensuring that I have looked at my capacity to learn. So a lot of times people focus on getting information, but not on learning. And the intellectual curiosity doesn't end when you graduate from school. It continues, and AI will demand that you always have intellectual curiosity. And so if you're a millennial, if you're a Gen X, you should be curious. You should be figuring out how AI can make you more efficient and effective so that you can level up. So as they're looking at repurposing your job for a younger, cheaper person, you can get a job that's higher order thinking. And let's not forget that as we eliminate jobs, we will create jobs as well. And I like to tell people, one of my former employers, when I started, there were 8 admins, and we were not so sure what their value add was. The work that they were supposed to do was with challenges, and then we automated their work. And this is before AI. We automated their work. We don't need those positions. And what happened was those admins got promoted, 3 internally, 2 externally, and then the others, I'm not so sure. I didn't keep track of where they are, but they were down to 1.5 employee, 1.5 admin. So those 5 people that got repurposed also got paid more because they were doing higher value things. And I always scratch my head when we get so fixated on the fact that low value work is going away, and we don't even stop to think about the high value work that's about to come in its place. I mean, now as a person that uses AI, I can demand a higher salary. I might start off with a lower salary, but once I'm able to cut month end down from 7 business days to 2 business days, why shouldn't I get paid more? When I can cut the time to produce an article down from 2 weeks to 15 minutes, why shouldn't I get paid more?
I fully agree. We're in a new era. It's an opportunity to rethink and not look at everything with a negative lens, but rather as opportunities for us to grow, to evolve, to remain curious. And it's certainly very, very exciting times.
Yeah, actually, we survive on interns, and we use our interns and we give them real jobs to do, not pretend jobs, jobs that have direct impact on our forward movement. And so this summer we had 18 interns, and my coaching to them was the thing that you want to make sure that you learn from this is your ability to network. You don't like networking, your ability to build a friend garden, your ability to meet somebody and strike up a conversation, determine if there's some meeting of the minds, and then being able to forge a relationship with them. Kind of like what we did. We met on Leaders Who Care, and then a follow one-on-one conversation. And then I started following you on LinkedIn, and I really thought about, like, wow, what you post speaks to me. And sometimes I was like, you say it better than I do, so why shouldn't I repost your posts? And so all of a sudden now 2 random people are forging a relationship because networking is important. And we don't know. I have no idea where this relationship will go. But the fact that I now have you in my network, and ever so often when I'm feeling down, you pop up, and it's like, I should be happy. I have no reason to be down. I am living my perfect life. Why should I be down?
And immense, immense gratitude for for everything you have shared about my LinkedIn posts. I'm very, very grateful, and I really always appreciate any comments that you make and any reposts. So thank you so much for that. So when it comes to your own joy now, what are the sources of your biggest joy today, and has that evolved over time?
Joy has always been work hard, play hard, collect as many friends as possible. And I continue to do that. I think the biggest joy I just had was my mom and I went on a trip to Eastern and Central Europe in July. And it was kind of cool, right? Because she said, well, we're going on this Viking River cruise. And then I read the marketing material, and it says designed for people 70 and over. And I thought, wow, a ship full of 70 plus people. So I was like, well, I should have some fun as well. So let's go to Prague, and I can do the underground because I've been wanting to go to Prague anyway to go check out the underground scene. So we went to Prague, and we had the best time on this trip. When we're in Prague, we're like walking on the street, and there are fruit trees on the side of the street. And we're like, what fruits are these? So we went to the market, and we saw the fruits, and we asked the people, and they told us that it was safe to eat. So we're walking back to where we're staying, and we're just standing on the side of the street eating the fruit. And my mom's like the happiest ever. And I was just like, this is so crazy. Like these two random people on the side of the street, I can't even imagine what the Czechs are thinking at this moment. But nobody came up to us and stopped us. And then we went on the cruise, and it turned out that the average age is more like 62, 70 plus. And we had a great time. I mean, it was 190 people. Almost every meal we spoke to, we hung out with somebody different. It was great. And we stopped at really cool places. And, we talked about we need to go back to Bratislava. I don't even know if I knew where that was before. I obviously know where Slovakia is, but did I know what the capital of Slovakia was? No, Bratislava. We're like, this is really cool. And it was kind of funny because my mom, we had just come from Austria, and my mom was like, ah. And then she's like, Bratislava. Yeah, this is it. Because it's the party energy, lively, it's fun. And then you got the medieval buildings and heritage all blend in. It was so cool. I just like totally had a great time. And then we went to Budapest, and we just walked around Budapest and just hung out. And what I really liked about the whole thing, for like an entire week, she was just smiling ear to ear. And we just literally had fun. And we're like, we do enjoy Eastern Europe and Central Europe. We love the history, we love the culture. It works for us. So that was great joy. And then another piece of the great joy was the ability to just disengage and have the team move things forward and come back, and things were moving, and we had some milestones, and we were happy.
It's beautiful to see that you're cherishing that time with your mother. So this brings me to the question that relates to joy once again, but if there would be a recipe for joy, what would be the three main ingredients that you believe are important to focus on?
Three main ingredients for joy. I believe it would be self agency. You need to love yourself to find full joy. Having purpose. I think that sometimes we underestimate how important having purpose is. And I think having an unwavering belief in human nature. So believing that everybody wants to do good, and circumstance causes them not to always live into that. That you can make anybody have purpose. And, I have a mentee, and said to her, you need to have purpose in your life. You're in these, you need to have purpose. And so we got her a job, and it was mind blowing how she shifted because she had purpose. And self agency is important because with self agency, you believe you can make a difference in the world. With self agency, you believe that things can go your way with just a little bit of muscle, a lot of love and help from others. It can happen. And when you live in that space, the world does bend to your will in a way that's powerful and uplifting and reinforcing. And so that's what I think brings joy.
I absolutely love that. And we've done a lot of research in over 48 countries to actually explore the dimensions of joy across cultures and generations. And one of the key findings we have found since the beginning of our research, which is still ongoing, is that individuals that have a purpose and have found their life purpose actually rate much, much higher on their level of life fulfillment and level of joy that they're able to experience on a daily basis. So it's so essential. And when I think about it, it is as important for the younger generation, but also you see even for my parents who are like nearing the 90s. I keep thinking, what is their purpose, and how can I actually get them to have a greater sense of purpose, particularly when you're not as active as before. If you lose your sense of purpose, you almost lose the joy of life, right? And you're
Exactly.
as if life is happening to you rather than you being bold, being curious, and loving the uncertainty and and the unfolding of events that may sometimes surprise you. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Thank you.
So, what is your life purpose if you had to decipher it in a couple of words?
So I believe my life purpose is to be the conduit of the Lord's love and help people find live into their fullest potential. So trying to help people be the best version of themselves. And that's at our core what we do at AvatarBuddy, building out function specific AI agents to help people get their jobs done and designing them in a way that not just helps them get their job done, but uplifts them in the process. That is great. No, I we're doing a project where we're asking for customer feedback, and I'm always a little nervous whenever you do that, right? Because you never know what they're going to say. And some of our customers have been saying some pretty profound and impactful things about how their life and their organizations are changing. And I think whenever I read that, I think, okay, I am helping a few people, and at the end of the day, that's all I really can do.
I love that. Any final words of wisdom that you may wish to share with our audience? And if you could potentially give our listeners also a challenge to pursue to actually live more joyfully, what would you say?
I would say to smile, just practice smiling, and to count the small wins because it's within the small wins that you get the big ones. Like this morning, sitting to figure out a problem, and we spent 45 minutes to figure out the problem, only to find out that it was one simple switch we didn't turn on. But we were learning, but in the process, we learned so much more about the software. And we were both happy and excited once we figured it out. And that, my friend, is what joy is about. We both left that meeting smiling and feeling good about ourselves.
How amazing. And on those beautiful words, Stephanie, it's been an immense pleasure to speak with you today. Thank you. Wishing you immense, immense success moving forward with AvatarBuddy and all the wonderful things that you're doing.
Thank you for having me on your podcast, and I wish you all the luck, and I'm hoping that we will get to 1 million years of joy.
Thank you.